Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, revealed that love doesn't only exist in the light. It hides in the shadows of our unconscious, shaping our desires, fears, and instincts in ways we barely understand. Love is a force that defies reason. It can be a gentle whisper or a raging storm. Anyone who has truly loved knows that love isn't just about joy. It's about contradictions, about moments that lift you up and others that tear you apart. Imagine feeling completely intertwined with someone, believing in the unshakable presence of that bond, and then, without warning, they pull away. No fights, no explanations, just silence, an absence that speaks louder than words. Most would assume this is the end, a clear sign of fading interest. But what if that withdrawal wasn't rejection? What if it was something far more complex, something buried deep within the human psyche? Today we'll uncover the unseen forces that drive people to push love away, just as it becomes most intense. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to discover might change the way you see love forever. Before we begin, subscribe to the Carl Jung Philosophy channel so you don't miss upcoming insights on personal and spiritual growth. And now, let's begin. Love isn't just an emotion, it's a revelation. It doesn't simply connect two people, it exposes them. Jung's studies revealed that the human mind is divided into two realms, the conscious, where we believe we have control, and the unconscious, where our deepest fears, suppressed desires, and unresolved traumas reside. We think we choose love rationally, but in reality, the unconscious dictates far more than we realize. To truly love is to stand before a mirror that doesn't just reflect what we cherish. It reveals what we fear. It forces us to confront the wounds we thought had healed, the insecurities we believed were buried. And not everyone is ready for that reflection. Some, when faced with emotions too intense to handle, instinctively retreat. Not because their love isn't real, but because it threatens to unravel them. Love isn't always a sanctuary. Sometimes it shakes the very foundation of who we are. It can awaken forgotten pain, bring unresolved fears to the surface, and challenge the walls we've spent a lifetime building. The unconscious mind reacts, deploying defense mechanisms to shield itself. For some, love feels like exposure, like standing unguarded in a storm, and their instinct is to run. Those who have faced abandonment may withdraw before they are left again. Those who have been betrayed may see love as a risk too great to take. Those who have built their lives around control may feel threatened by a force they cannot command. So when someone pulls away, don't mistake it for indifference. Sometimes it's not love that's absent, but the courage to face it. What we suppress within ourselves doesn't simply vanish, it resurfaces in our relationships. If someone feels that love strips them of control, makes them too vulnerable, or threatens their sense of self, their unconscious mind may trigger an instinctive response, retreat. On the surface, they might not even understand why they're pulling away. They may ache for the connection, suffer from the distance, but still, they withdraw. Because when the unconscious battles the conscious desire to love, fear often wins over will. To an outsider, this behavior seems baffling. Why would someone who loves you suddenly turn cold? Why would they ignore the very thing they longed for? The answer lies deep within the psyche, in the way the mind copes with inner turmoil. Love is a force beyond reason. It can uplift, but it can also destabilize. For many, emotional closeness is both a craving and a threat. They yearn for intimacy, yet fear it might unravel them. They desire connection, yet dread dependency. They want love, yet resist the vulnerability it demands. And so they move in contradictions. One moment, they draw you in, offering warmth, passion, closeness. The next, they shut down, disappear, leaving you in confusion. They speak of commitment but avoid confrontation. They hold on, yet push away. This isn't calculated. It's the unconscious battling itself. The deeper the bond, the stronger the fear. And when someone feels they're losing themselves in love, their instinct is to reclaim control, not by fighting for the relationship, but by stepping away. When someone who loves you begins to ignore you, your first instinct is to wonder what you did wrong. But the truth? It's often not about you at all. It's about their own internal war. The worst thing you can do in this moment is chase, beg for answers, or demand clarity. If fear is driving them away, pressure will only make them run faster. True love isn't about gripping tighter. It's about understanding when to let go, when to give space, when to allow the other person to face their demons without feeling suffocated. And here's the paradox. Sometimes distance isn't just an escape. It's a test, a subconscious way of measuring the depth of the bond, of asking the unspoken question, will you still be there, even if I disappear? Sometimes those who pull away aren't leaving, they're testing. They want to know if love can endure without constant validation, if it can survive even in silence. To the one left behind, this feels cruel, unfair. But to those who fear emotional entanglement, distance is their shield. They step back not because they don't care, but because they're terrified of caring too much. They create space to feel in control, to convince themselves they are not trapped in something greater than they can handle. Yet, here's the truth. Those who use distance as a test often aren't ready for real love. Because love in its truest form doesn't demand proof. It doesn't rely on fear-based games. It is built on trust, presence, and the willingness to stay. Some who run may return, but the question is, will they come back as the same person, repeating the same cycle? Or will they return with the maturity to stand firm in love rather than flee from it? The only answer that matters is not in words, but in actions. True love is not measured by constant proximity, but by the ability to overcome fear, to bridge the gap between doubt and devotion. Some need time to make sense of their emotions. Some will wander too far and never return. But what is real will always find its way back. If someone distances themselves, holding on out of fear of losing them will only tighten the chains. Love, if it is meant to last, will not see distance as an ending, but as a necessary step toward its evolution. But what if they don't come back? What if silence is their final answer? Before we explore this question, if this video is resonating with you, take a moment to share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And if you'd like to support our channel, you can leave a donation by clicking the thank you button below the video. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's continue. Because if love doesn't return, then the distance wasn't a tragedy. It was a revelation. A lesson that love is never about clinging to someone who is unsure, but about allowing them the freedom to choose. We often treat love like a prize to be won or a possession to be protected at all costs. But the truth? Real love isn't measured by how long it lasts. It's measured by how deeply it transforms us. Some people enter our lives not to stay forever, but to awaken something within us, to illuminate truths we've been unwilling to face. And sometimes, absence teaches us more than presence ever could. Because when someone leaves, we're forced to turn inward, to ask ourselves the hard questions. Is it truly them we fear losing? Or is it the emptiness they leave behind that terrifies us the most? Maybe that person touched something raw, something buried, stirring emotions we didn't even know existed. And that is why love, even when it fades into distance, is never wasted. It forces growth. It challenges us. The pain of separation isn't just about losing someone. It's about confronting the version of ourselves we become in their absence. But here's something rarely spoken about. Those who pull away often don't fully understand why they're doing it. Most people are strangers to their own inner world. They don't realize that love has triggered deep-seated fears, old wounds, unconscious defense mechanisms that have played out in their lives for years. Carl Jung spoke of the power of projections, how we see not just a person, but a reflection of our own unresolved struggles in them. So when someone runs, they may not be running from you at all. They may be running from an image of themselves they aren't ready to confront. Their silence, their distance, it's not a verdict on your worth. It's a war within their own soul. And that is why chasing, demanding answers, or clinging tighter only pushes them further away. The real question isn't why they left. It's whether they will ever return with new eyes, with a deeper awareness. Not everyone will. Some will remain trapped in the same patterns, repeating the same story. But those who face their fears, those who break free from their own shadows when they return, they do so as different people. And only then can love truly stand on solid ground. Love has the power to heal, but it also has the power to terrify. Not everyone who pulls away does so out of indifference. Sometimes love runs so deep that it shakes a person to their core, unearthing fears they thought were buried, unraveling the identity they believed was unshakable. If someone has distanced themselves, don't waste your energy searching for answers in their silence. Instead, turn inward. Ask yourself, what is this experience revealing about you? Because, as Jung said, the greatest love we can ever find is the one that brings us face to face with ourselves. And the ultimate truth about love, if it's real, it doesn't need to be chased. It doesn't need to be forced. It will always find its way back. But what about you? Have you ever felt a love so intense, only to watch it slip away? Share your story in the comments, because the more we understand love, the more we understand ourselves. Remember, true love isn't a chain. It's a journey. It ebbs and flows, moves closer and further away. And sometimes, when someone ignores us, they aren't running from us at all. They're running from what our love has awakened inside them. But if the connection is real, if it was ever meant to last, then no distance will be strong enough to keep it from finding its way home.